Thank you, Jem.
Be curious.
Get out of here. All right, so we want to have some time for question and answers. So basically what we've done today is share with you kind of some of the things that we do in sessions 1 through 3. These groups we run are 10-week sessions. So in sessions 4 through 10, we get a lot deeper into the real trauma and the things that the youth are dealing with. And so we don't have enough time to go through everything with you tonight, but what we want to do right now is just to open it up to a conversation for any questions you may have, about anything. We want to answer any comments that you have. So right now we're just going to open it up. Vanna, if you don't mind joining us again, that would be great. Dorothy, if you'd like. Sit. I'm right here.
All right.
So does anybody have a question or a comment? Yes.
Can you guys share some of, like what has happened when you've done some of these presentations? Like what has been that maybe surprised you or let you know that you were doing a good thing?
In the schools you're talking about?
Yeah.
Real
And
quick.
just before they go on to start this part of it, I'm going to just say confidentiality is a big issue with this work. So they're going to say names, but they're going to be different names from the kids that they really are.
Well, at our graduation at the end of the 10 weeks, we always do like a talk back about things that they've learned or how they feel now that they're at the end of this. And all of them say like, we wish we could have a class like this every day at school, because it gives them a chance to like breathe a little bit and just talk about themselves. We always get that after every 10 weeks we get, can we keep this going forever? They want this in the schools.
Another thing that we get a lot is like kids, they're so aware and they literally say like, if I had this when I was like in 1st or 2nd grade, my life would be so different now. Wow. And like we hear stories of like the last class, Raymond and I are a team. Each team has 2 artists and 1 clinician. And Raymond shows a film that he made when he was in high school, when he was taking my class like 6 years ago or something, where he had never told anyone this story, but he saw somebody get beat up and shot when he was like 4 or 5 or really young. And he made this 2-minute silent film, no words, but you just see what happens. And right after we showed the movie, 5 kids told stories of witnessing shootings, and one of them was their mom, one of them it was their cousin who was like their big brother type figure. So right in the first week they opened up like that, so it's really, really powerful.
I think what surprises me is for some reason every time they actually do the things that we try to help them to do, they do it. They really do.
Think they're not going to?
Yeah, I don't know why, maybe.
Because if you ever seen middle school
Yeah.
kids,
But they do it a lot, actually. Like, we're very close with our clinicians, so even after we're done with the 10 weeks, because the 10 weeks goes by so fast, they'll email us about a kid from 3 sessions ago and be like, oh, they came to my office and told me they used helpful other thoughts the other day, that they stopped somebody else from fighting. And it's like, yeah, so that's
there was like a story of this girl who like lifted a girl out of a fight because she was like, no violence. So like, and this is a girl who got into fights before. So
like yesterday in the cafeteria, one girl who just finished a session, the winter session, she said, Miss Vanna, CPITs, I use the hot seat. It really works. Really? I go, oh really? Okay. I go, no wonder haven't seen you knocking on my door lately. So we know it works to some of the kids.
Is there any, again, confidential debriefing with teachers in the school afterwards to start them beginning to think about what might be behind the behavior instead of just being
because of the confidentiality, we can't release any names or what kids are talking about. But I'm all ears. If the teacher knows what student comes to my group, because I am the one that have to call them out of the class. But they could tell me how the kids, how their behaviors, what reductions or things hasn't been improved. They do told me things like that. But as for me and my side, I can't.
And before we started the program in the schools, we did a professional development day for all of the teachers where we brought our Youth Freedom Project show in, which shares a lot of our students' traumas. In fact, Rayleigh and Ori and Emily were all part of that show, and they're pretty close to the students' age, so it really resonates with the teachers, and they got that, and they're
And
also.
Brianna.
Oh, yes, she is. She was in New York for some of it. But
I just wanted to say also, all you have to do is walk inside the school for like 5 minutes, be in the hallway, be in a classroom. Like, it is crazy what the teachers have to, like, we're not interested in blaming anybody, basically. Like, we think that there needs to be more resources given towards this kind of work because it's not the teacher's fault. Like, when you have like 24, 28 kids and you're by yourself in that room and you have like 80% of the kids who are dealing with traumatic situations currently at home, I mean, it is, we are 3 adults with 12 kids and it's a lot. So I have so much respect and admiration for teachers and what they do. So I just want to say that.
So after we did that, show, we did it for all the teachers in the schools, in all the schools. So, and they came up to us and thanked us for reminding them that kids go through things and stuff. So yeah, they know, and they do a lot refer the kids to the group. So yeah, they know.
and that is part of the next stage of what we're going to do, is to try to do a broader school thing. They're actually going, Matt goes in with some of the people he works with, and they do some trauma 101 stuff with the teachers, and so there's, and it's also going to be developed more. All right, Barry.
So the scope of the work, does it interface with other services in the community, or does it stay inside your activity?
Well, they like.
Bonnie could speak to that, doesn't it?
Sure.
I mean, doesn't she connect all the services?
Yeah.
Yeah, depending on some of the kids' situations, and we do refer. For example, some of the kids that refer to us is, it's not just the kids refer, but we have to do a screening. It's called pre-screening if the kids is appropriate for the groups. And also we follow through with the teen session. It's called pre-data collections from the pre-screening. Then we have a post-test for the kids after they finish the program. See if any the results of all the kids that we serve and what's the outcome is. And we combine with other school that we do, and we collect data also. So we'll know it's working or not and what has improved in each area. As for the resources, please, yes. For example, if I have a student who went through the session, but and her trauma, whatever it triggers, we didn't finish it because it's a group session. She needs more, so I will refer outside. We also have the Providence Center where I work, as we have another clinician, just the Providence Center. It's called in-school based counseling, so it's one-on-one. So we do refer them to a further services for herself and what other families involved.
And also here, that we try to, at the end and throughout all the weeks, we try to get the kids to come here to continue the work of like art-based therapy and like making movies about your stories, making performances about your stories. So we try to get them all here, but it's not always easy because
we've had a couple kids. There is a direct bus line from like Broad Street and some of the different schools. You can get here on one bus. It's tough because they're in middle school, so their parents won't always let them take the bus. But we have a lot of dreams. We've been writing grants and we're trying to get transportation because we fall in love with the kids and they don't want the sessions to end. We don't want the sessions to end. So it's very heartbreaking for us. And they always come when they see us in the school. They're like, can I come back? And it breaks our heart to say no, but we give them our pamphlets and our address, and we're actually allowed to call parents. Like, Vonna can't give me their number, but if the kid gives me their parents' number, I'm allowed to call them. So Jem and I have been doing outreach to parents, and we've had some success so far.
Yeah, and we also have after-school program, at the school also. Kids, like cheerleading, wrestling, things like that. We try to encourage a lot of kids to, connect with the resources. Yeah.
I have a couple questions. One of you mentioned that some of the kids wish that they had this program when they were younger. And my question is, I know you guys are working with middle school right now. Are there any programs, or would you be open to working with elementary? Because I work right now in a kindergarten through third grade school, and specifically with the third grade, well, in our whole school, we have a lot of kids who have been through trauma or are currently experiencing it, and it's manifesting like in a lot of ways in the classroom that's very disruptive, and I think this program would be really good for them. And my other question is, when it comes to clinicians or social workers and consent from the parents, have you experienced any issues? Because we have an amazing social worker in our school, and there's some kids that we feel really could benefit from seeing her, but when we recommend it to the parent, they refuse it for various reasons.
Yeah.
So has that happened, and do you have any suggestions for?
That happens a lot. We send permissions home. We can't serve these kids unless the parents agree onto it. They have to sign permission. So there's a lot of steps goes through this. And I'm saying we have over 1,000 kids in my middle school, and we only serve maybe two groups session each semester, you know. And a lot of parents do say no.
Ivana will go to the house to get the signature.
Sometimes if I build that relationship with the parents and to explain, you know, if the kids really need it, just to build that relationship with the parents, and afterward they change their mind and go, okay, it's the way, sometimes the way we present it, how we present the CBIT groups to them. You know, when you read it, is when they say trauma, things like that, violence, domestic violence, so you know that we'll be working on. They look at it differently if you explain to them a different way that just targeting what the issue they could have works differently.
And to your first question, Jem and another Everett artist who's not here tonight, Laisha, just started a pilot program in the 5th grade, and the Children and Youth Cabinet is looking to expand in the elementary area. They want to approach it carefully because it's a very different climate in the younger school. It's a much closer environment, and the administrators are kind of more on top of all the individual students, and so they're a little afraid of opening the kids up too much and then sending them back to class and having that feel disruptive to the school environment. So they're just adjusting a few things, approaching it with a little bit of a lighter touch, but still trying to give the kids the chance to talk when they need to and when they have things to talk about. And then also making sure there's time at the end of the hour where they bring them down and they prepare them to go back and don't just kind of end on a...
Yeah, because in the middle school, we want as a group teen session, but not just a group. But if you have kids who not ready to be opened up, they feel anxious or, you know, tearful in the group, so they have the opportunity to come see me just one-on-one first to just get them, you know, more comfortable to share. Yeah.
One of the things that I think is very interesting watching all of this today and having worked with young people myself is I think that often young people, and this maybe would be a slightly different approach for the smaller kids, is they don't even actually understand how to identify what it is that they're feeling. And so they might go to anger, and maybe they know what anger is, but maybe they don't know how to identify that actually under that anger is hurt. So like the scene between Joseph and Raymond about Jem, there were so many levels to that, and really ultimately Joseph had shared a vulnerability that he liked this girl, right? He wanted to take her out, and he shared it with his best friend, and then he's afraid that his best friend went and asked her out, and so he sort of feels naked, maybe a little hurt. But I think a lot of times children, they don't know how to identify it. So I think that's one of the really important things that you're doing here is you're almost developing an emotional vocabulary for people who haven't had any help doing that, or we all need that help. But I think to start doing that when children are young is probably one of the biggest ways. Then you can stop before the fight. Is if you can't actually catch what that first emotion is before the anger.
So we actually had like a moment in one of my groups where this one student, she came in. She has a little brother who has some development issues. He was born prematurely, and she has him as her background. Like she loves him a lot. But one of the other kids, they didn't really know the situation, they made an ignorant comment about the little brother. They said something very ignorant about him. They saw the picture. And she came into the classroom very upset, right in the beginning of the group. And the thing is, we had we had almost all our kids in the room. And the thing is, like you said, a lot of kids, they don't understand, the emotion. I feel like they don't understand that first emotion that they're going through. So the first thing was she came in really upset, but the thing is, she started talking about it, and more she started talking about it, she started to cry about it. So we everyone pointed out, so it makes you sad that he said that, that person said that. And then it was but you also know, does that person know what your little brother's going through? Cause she went and she explained everything that her little brother's going through, and then she was like, she probably doesn't. I was like, so do you think if she knew that, she would want to, she would still make that same remark? And then she said no, and before you know it, she ended up, she was smiling, she was calmed down, the whole situation calmed down. But the thing that, amazed me the most was that the other kids were around it, and this is, we only worked with them for 10 weeks. I think this was, our 5th week, and the other kids had come in, and then they had given advice, and they had given pointers on things to do. So I think that's so, powerful in itself.
Something else that you made me think of, we started developing, every time we go into session, we have these sheets full of different emojis with emotions written under them, because all kids love emojis. And so our tradition, every single time they come in a group, well, first of all, at the first week, we give each student a journal, and that's their journal to keep. And each time they come in, they take a little sticker, and they put it in their book, and they get to look at the different emotions. It's 100 different emotions, and then they get to pick. We tell them, you could do 1, you could do 10. Write down all the emotions you're feeling today, and then you could write down why you're feeling that way. And that's how we start the class, and we try to end the class that way, but sometimes we never have enough time, so.
So that way they can assess if they've moved. So
Yes.
if they've written down their emotion in the beginning and then they write how they're feeling at the end, they actually start to observe
Exactly.
how their state has changed.
Exactly.
It's like a
That's
mood
the goal.
journal.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is, like you said, just learning, because if you never learned about an emotion, then you don't have access to it, you know what I mean?
And they're always surprised by how many emotions are on that paper, because it's like a sheet of paper with all the faces on it, just
And they'll ask us, what is that? What is that? I was talking to this girl the other day about what optimism is, and it was the best conversation ever. Julia, do you have a question, Julia?
Young people.
I just want to know, what was your happiest thing you ever did, and then also, what was the saddest thing you ever did?
In the groups?
Anything in your life.
She's trying to get us to talk about it. She's our star. She's gonna be.
Can I take your question and answer it about a kid in the group? All right. So there was one individual in the group who, she opened up so much throughout all the sessions, and she spoke about witnessing domestic violence in her house to the point where there were times where the ambulance had to come and she thought her mom was dead, just really graphic, horrific stuff. And she cried. She was so vulnerable. And towards the end of the group, there were other kids in the group who were very depressed and very there's a lot of self-harm that goes on. And she opened up about how she herself was harming, and she found this technique of, instead of hurting herself, she would draw on herself, and she shared that with the group. And it was just such an amazing moment, and the kids just came together as a group talking about such a difficult thing, and it was just so incredible. And that's something I'll never forget.
Did she find the drawing during the 10-week session, or was that something
she had already found it, online herself. Yeah.
And she was able to help other kids in the group that possibly were thinking about it or already attempting.
Because someone else had brought it up, and she shared that. And one of the most amazing things also about the groups is how you have super shy kids that are outcasts, and the most popular kids all in one group, and then they really do bond, and it's a beautiful thing. So that one of the dreams we have is creating these leadership groups within the schools that could really try to change, instead of all the kids egging on the fights, you'll have the kids that used to fight coming in stopping the fights, so.
Keep going.
Speaking of kids who are outcasts, physical disability, because I think it would be very valuable for them to mix in with other kids and be able to talk about common problems. I don't know if we've ever worked with them.
We haven't had any of those kids yet because first of all, we usually we have to screen through the kids, screen to be in the group. So we do have some of the kids that we refer from it's called self-contained class. Some of the kids who have some spectrum of the ADHD and the behavioral OCD, ODD, obviously defined kids. It's more like that way, yeah. The kids that who's not mainstream with the rest of the class, but it's called self-contained class. So
Ron is a clinician for another school. For my school, I was at Del Sesto. I've had 2 kids that were on the spectrum. One kid was very jittery. You can almost see you can see what his issue was. But he was very outspoken from the moment he came into the group. He was able to share, and the thing is, when a kid like that is able to share their issues and their problems, it opens up for the other kids in the room too. It gives them a lot of courage. The same thing happened for the next kid. He was very abrupt. He would just come out of nowhere. When we did the scenes, he would call it out. All the other kids would say, "Oh, Mister, you should be in Hollywood." He was the only kid who said corny. So, he's very straightforward. But since he's so straightforward, he was able to relate to some of the stories. He was able to relate to my actual true story immediately, and it helped him open up. And then since he started opening up, the little things that he was saying, trickled down to the other kids, and the other kids, they started to say, small.